Hey, what's up everyone? Mel from Fortin Amps here, and I'm going to show you how I dialed in the NATAS with the JCM-2000. As for my guitar setup, I have the LTD EC-1000 with Seymour Duncan pickups going into the NATAS, then to the JCM-2000. Then into my Mesa cab, mic'd with an SM57. Super simple setup. And this is what it sounds like with everything at 12 o'clock and the NATAS off. So this is the clean channel. And that's the crunch channel. So I'm going to try it out dialing the NATAS in with the clean channel first. Immediately, that sounds super scooped to me. So I'm going to try out the crunch channel. I know that's a lot of distortion to start off with, but honestly, I like how more full ranged it sounds than the scooped sound. So with that, and since I don't want to stack too much gain, I'm going to use the crunch channel and then dial the gain back. All right, so I'm familiar with the NATAS already, so I feel as if the midshift would introduce more scoop frequencies than not. So I'm going to try that, but just to show you what it sounds like. It sounds super scooped, and I think I want a little bit more of that mid-range. And that's what everything sounds like at 12 o'clock. I think it's a pretty solid tone already, but I'm going to lower the gain on the Marshall and then dial in the pedal as much as I can and see where I land. What I like to do is introduce less gain rather than more to see what characteristics I'm going to get. What I know is I'm going to throw a normal distortion through the NATAS and then get it into the Marshall where that's going to introduce more distortion characteristics. So with that, I'm going to get my stage 1 gain set up. So I think lowering the gain and introducing more volume is going to give me more of that bite that I'm looking for. You can see as I increase the volume, I get more of a richer mid-rangey tone, low mids and big bottom end. So that tells me that's more of the JCM saturation. More gain here. That's more NATAS saturation. What I like to do is I like to play around with the knobs a lot. And since the guitar is in drop D, I think I can afford to pull up the bass a good amount. And since the JCM is a bright amp, I know I can afford to push it up as much as I can. I noticed that the bass was already turned up at the start of this video, so please forgive me. All right, next up is the mid-range. So I'm going to push that up and mess around with this. It gets really scooped when I pull it below 11 o'clock. So I'm going to actually push up the mid-range just so I can scoop it in the JCM rather than scoop it before it hits the amp. Since I'm boosting the treble, I feel like it drastically affects how the amp sounds. I actually feel like pulling the treble back and then pushing the mid-range up gives me a that gives me a nastier sound. And then playing with the gain, I feel like it's a little muddier when I dial it up. So I'm going to try to see how much low end and how much pick attack and scrape and articulation I can get now with playing with the grind and the girth. As you can tell, it sounds really muffled. Pulling the grind to 0 and pulling it up. Get a nice pick scrape, but I don't like it cranked, so I'm going to keep it there. And now I'm going to pull up the girth just to see if I can get that low end back. Just for fun, let's hit the kill. Sounds pretty overboard with rhythm on the kill, but I think it'd be cool for leads. But this track is super heavy on rhythms and chugs, so I'm not going to use that for this tone. I'm going to pull back the girth just a tad. I usually go with both the EQ here and then mess with the EQ here, but for the sake of the video, I'm kind of going in order, focusing on the pedal and then focusing on the EQ. So now I'm going to actually touch the amp and mess around with the amp section and then just nudge the pedal around just a tad. The tone feels a little dark, so I think I can pull up the presence a bit in the treble. Let's mess around with that. So I'm going to pull the presence up all the way just to see how it sounds. As suspected, it's a bit fizzy, so I'm going to dial it back until I like it. Treble all the way up. Doesn't sound too bad, but I'm gonna dial it back just for the sake of clarity and other leads. And I feel like it sounds nice and midsy. Let's hear the middle. Interesting. Pulling up the middle, I lose that low end chug sound. So I'm gonna dial that back just a tad. I'm pretty stoked where it is here. It's a little different, but it's pretty close since it's using the same elements and I have everything in roughly the same places. So I ended with the treble at about 3 o'clock, the middle at about 1 o'clock, the bass at about 3 o'clock, the volume at about a little above 11 o'clock, and then the gain at about 10 o'clock. Everything else together sounds like this. And here's what it sounds like with the pedal off. As you can tell, it's a solid crunch tone from the Marshall, so you can get that. But if you really want to get heavy, slap it on. Really nice bite, really nice attack, really sharp pick attack, and really great articulation. And I think I've done that by boosting the mids and giving it a good low end bump before it hits the Marshall. If you want to hear what it sounds like, I didn't really talk about the tone shift earlier. I don't really like it, but this is what it sounds like. I figured I could EQ those mids out if I wanted it, maybe for a nice rhythm tone. And then for a nice lead tone, I could have that. But since this is primarily a one guitar track, I'm going to keep the tone shift unpressed just to make everything sound full. Again, here's the demo track. Hope you dig it. All right, so there you have it. Here's the raw experience of me dialing in the tone with the Fortin NATAS going into JCM-2000. If you want something a little bit more polished and a little bit more direct, but with a little bit of my commentary, go ahead and check the last video where I showed y'all the studio tone of the NATAS and the JCM-2000 all coming in together. These videos are more of a raw experience with my exact direct first impressions in real time with me dialing in every single parameter and hoping to show you what the pedal can do as if you were here in real time. If you want something a little bit more polished and straightforward, you can check out my previous video. I hope you dug this video though, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button, ring the bell for notifications, sub to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know in the comment section below what you want me to try out with the NATAS next. Like I said in the previous video, I think I'm going to try it out with a power amp, might be the Seymour Duncan, might be another one I can get my hands on, but stay tuned for that one. Again, thanks for hanging out. My name is Mel from Fortin Amps. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for having me.